Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here, and I just got back from a long, like 2 week vacation. I spent about a week out with Blizzard at Blizzard HQ, and then I was over with doing family vacation for about a week. That's my very first vacation since I started content creation, and yeah, just haven't really been around, and so I need to dive into all of the D4 updates because there's been a ton of updates that have dropped down onto us. We have even more stuff coming this week, including information about a PTR, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I basically went through all of the different articles that have been written since then. I watched a whole bunch of different videos and interviews, some great interviews with like Rob, Anna, and yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there that has, been revealed some information for us. So first off, let's just talk about what's going on. So on October 8th, I believe, the first D4 expansion is going to be dropping called the Vessel of Hatred. It has a whole bunch of new features that adds brand new content to the game for people that get the expansion, but also for people that are just playing baseline. There's going to be a whole lot of different stuff. So let's go real high level thing. We have Mercenaries finally coming to the game. It's going to be very different than Diablo 2 or Diablo 3's systems. We have Dark Citadel, which is also expansion content only. And this is like the first group content type of thing. And it's kind of like a weekly dungeon thing that you want to do. It's for groups of 2 to 4. And I think it sounds pretty cool. We have Cursed Undercity, which is a multi-stage time attack dungeon that has some targeted rewards. It seems like it would probably be good for leveling and maybe even late game farming. Not 100% sure. There's cool stuff like the shop isn't your only way to get cool transmogs. So they're adding more stuff to the baseline game. They're like adding Party Finder, which is going to be kind of interesting. There's some things I want to talk about with that. But, a lot of people do play solo, but, there are stuff that you do want to look for a group for. So adding a Party Finder, I think, is a pretty big win. Every single class is apparently getting a new skill. There's new passives for them as well. And they've changed around Paragon. They changed progression. There's a whole lot of changes. So we're going to hop into all of this really quickly. And just a quick aside, this video is sponsored by you. I don't really take a lot of sponsors on the channel here. And I notice about 80% of you guys don't subscribe to the channel. And so if you wanted to do me the favor of just clicking that subscribe button, it does help out tremendously. And thank you so much for doing that. So hopping off first, we do want to talk about the Mercenaries here. And right now, at the start of the game, we're going to be having 4 different mercenaries. They kind of hinted that these are the best, most fleshed out ones that they have. There might be more mercenaries coming in the future. I could see this being the type of thing where seasonal content drops out and a new character comes in to the story that is a new mercenary for you to like partner up and team up with. And now you have a new option to go with them. And so these first 4 mercenaries are Subo, the drunken archer. We have Aldkin, the demon child. He's like the cursed child. He like can turn into like a fire or shadow demon. Subo is like an archer who does like some alchemy stuff, it seems like. We have Rahir, who seems like maybe be the boss of all of these guys because we get introduced to him first and he introduces us to all these other mercenaries supposedly. And this guy kind of seems like the paladin almost, maybe kind of a paladin. I mean, he gives you like a big shield wall. He throws his shield and it bounces around kind of like Captain America. So it seems like maybe like Paladin Light. So maybe some of this stuff here is indicative that they are working on a Paladin. I mean, even just looking at his shield here, we just zoom in real quick. You can see like a little cross on it. There's extra like kind of cool stuff. And so maybe this is kind of indicative of Paladin coming eventually sometime, who knows. And then lastly, we have Variana, who is like the grandma barbarian. And she's still kicking butt and pretty cool. So all of them have their own mechanics and own things that are going on. They have different things that you can kind of bring to the table with them. Let's go just talk about them really quickly. So there was a whole bunch of like video stuff about this and a whole bunch of different interviews. People asked a lot of questions. The very first thing to know is like they're going to have skill trees that give you a couple of different ways for you to basically customize the experience with your mercenary. And it sounds like if you're playing solo, you're going to have 1.5 mercenaries. So you have your main merc that is going to be running around with you. And then you're also going to have something called a reinforcement. which you're going to be able to basically have somebody on standby who can use one of their abilities to basically happen like when something happens. So like when you use a specific skill, when you get crowd control, low health, all this kind of stuff, they can kind of like tag in real quick and, you know, use an ability on cooldown, of course, and then pop back out. And so on this particular skill tree, though, with your main merc, who's only available when you're playing in solo, it kind of just helps you like pick a character that kind of like helps flush out some of the problems with your build. They had a quote from Brent where he said like every build has a soft spot, and the merc is kind of designed to help fill that soft spot. And so you can basically pick your way down the tree here, but you're not going to be able to fill out the whole tree. So we can see like if we go left, the right side tree is now closed off to us permanently. I mean, not permanently, maybe you can unlock it later. But as we can see here, it just goes left, left, and then like you can pick, you know, the difference down there, but just kind of keep going down. There's a lot of like interesting things in here, like taunt and damage reduction. Some of these have pretty long cooldowns. Whether or not your cooldown reduction will affect these guys at all isn't really sure yet. Also note that these guys don't get gear, so you're not going to have to worry about like finding gear and tempering it up for them. It really kind of sucked to like have to find a bow for Subo, especially if you're not playing a rogue, because you know you don't really drop that particular gear. So I'm kind of glad that they don't have gear to them. They do have their own abilities though. Some of these are like very like unique. Some of them feel like kind of shared, like especially a lot of the Variana stuff. She is a barbarian. I saw she has like leap slam. There was like an earthquake thing. I saw her doing a little spin to win. I saw her doing upheaval in the video. So it does seem like they have some unique stuff in there. And one of the things that's kind of important though is you have a rapport system. This is apparently how you get those skill points. There's apparently 10 levels to them, and you get XP for having a merc as either your main or reinforcement. And so like you will always get merc XP, even if it's just as a reinforcement all of the time, which is pretty cool. And also mercs, once you get them above level 5, get the ability to barter with you, which means that they can sell you stuff for pale marks, which is a currency that you find from doing stuff with them. So the little screenshot here. So used to purchase trade agreements and barter for items in the mercenary den. Earn from increasing your rapport with mercenaries and completing various activities with a mercenary after bartering has been unlocked, which becomes available after reaching rank 5 with any mercenary. So it appears that like you can potentially trade these marks that you get for doing stuff for more cool stuff. And it seems like there's a restock supply, so you can potentially like use these guys to get a lot of cool, interesting things that you probably wouldn't be able to find other places. Looks like legendaries, just materials and stuff. And who knows what all these things sell. There's 8 different trade agreements, so maybe some of these things are going to unlock some really, really cool stuff in there. But yeah, mercs do seem pretty interesting for sure. There's some more information about them. So basically, you are not really going to have these guys doing like the main damage. They're really just more there to support you. So the damage of them is going to be below player damage. So like season 3, where people were using their little skitter bot to murder everything, that's not really going to happen. You don't need to spend any gold to hire them. They can technically die, but they're not actually dead. They're just taking a knee, getting a sip of water, but you can walk over to them and like supposedly res them to help them get back in the action quicker. And when they are down, you're not getting the passive from them at the time. The mercenary is not a minion and it is not a companion for builds that care about that kind of stuff. So if you're a necromancer, you're not going to be able to do all of the minion stuff that you would with a normal mercenary. And they're actually unlocked during the story, and so we're here first, and then on to the rest. And I think overall, this is a pretty cool system. This is definitely very different than I thought mercenaries were going to be. I was really nervous about mercenaries. I've played through D2 again recently. I didn't really like the fact that this guy that I'm spending so much money on just keeps falling over because I haven't found perfect gear for him yet. And like the whole gearing of it was kind of a little bit weird. D3, it was kind of like the same problem. They added so many, like you have as many slots for gear on your merc as you did for yourself. And yeah, I was just kind of like, felt like you were doing a lot of gearing, and especially the way the gearing system works now with tempering and masterworking. I was really not looking forward to the idea of having to like completely gear up like 2 or 3 more characters for the mercenary system. So I'm very glad that they're not putting gear on them. The next thing here that I want to talk about is what's called the Dark Citadel. So Dark Citadel is apparently the first Khazra, which are like the Goatmen dudes, the very first of them. So like the ancient first Khazra from way back in the day. I've kind of like been up to no good in this like Dark Citadel area, and we have to go kind of kick their butt. And this is group content. So this is for groups of 2 to 4, but there's no lockouts for this. So you can kind of like go and like help your friends out a little bit. We kind of get to see like a little bit of like highlights of this stuff. And there's supposedly 3 different wings and a like a new little hub with some merchants and stuff that like sell some unique rewards for the event or for the area. And also like you just do stuff in a group. And it does appear that you are not going to be able to solo it at all. You will definitely need at least 2 people. Great example here is these doors. Looks like this guy steps on this yellow panel and that opens the yellow door. And then these guys step on the blue panel, which opens the blue door. And the moment he steps off that yellow, the yellow door closes. So I have to assume that like you need at least 2 people. I'm a little bit concerned about like what happens if you're like the slow guy here and like they step off the blue panel or don't step on it at all and they just keep running. But you know, hopefully they have all of that flushed out. And it definitely seems like there's going to be like different mechanics. They've said that there's going to be different themes for the different wings. There's like 3 different wings going on, and there's a lot of just like monsters and like different like probably boss mechanics. There's like guy with these wings. I'm really hoping we can get these wings here as like a drop or something. I know I would grind for that for sure. And yeah, it just seems like something that's going to be kind of cool. Like they're trying to make the game a little bit different than it was before, a different way to kind of push the combat and try stuff out. And I think this is going to be good. Whether or not it's going to be something that I do all of the time, you know, kind of depends. They have said that this is going to have weekly rewards. So rewards reset every week, which makes me think that I'll probably dedicate like an entire day of every single week, just like doing this myself and then carrying other people. There are 3 wings to complete, and it says it takes multiple hours. I don't know if that's like the first time or if you're like speed farming it or what's going on, but they have said that difficulty, they're changing difficulty around a little bit, only makes them more tankier and do more damage. There's no new mechs, which I don't think is a good idea. I think that you should have more mechanics added to the fight as you go up in difficulties. This allows you to kind of like tack more and more and more stuff on. Like, hey, in the fight here, the goatmen now leap and knock you back away from them and apply vulnerable. It's like the first thing. Now they like suck you in and then leap on top of you. Just stuff like that. Like it isn't probably going to live up to like Lost Ark standards of raids, but you definitely can add more and more mechanics over time. I think it adds to more replayability and just making it feel like the hardest version of it is going to be very, very difficult. It also unlocks at Torment 1, which is after the campaign, which if you're a Diablo 3 player, you're like, Torment? That's a difficulty now? Apparently that's a difficulty. They're going to be reworking all of the difficulty, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but we don't really know a lot about this yet. They were pretty evasive about answering any questions about difficulties. And so we're going to have to wait until the campfire on the 29th, which is probably like 2-3 day-ish from when this video is going to go live. There is a currency shop where you can buy stuff, including cosmetics. And apparently there is a new marker system that's going to be available to help you indicate your next intended move. Well, that's going to let you like click on the ground and like ping a warning or something like League of Legends or Lost Ark once again. We don't really know yet. I don't think that they showed it off in the video. They also showed off some like mechanics like that where you have to like basically, you know, counter attack enemies in order to do mechanics. And yeah, it just looks pretty fun. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out and seeing how they put these different mechanics together to make an interesting kind of boss fight. And you also can earn cosmetics for clearing the raid or the Dark Citadel, apparently on the hardest difficulty, that are exclusive to like actually doing the content. So you look really cool. And here's the shop here. So you see like all of these little coin things. Citadel vendor is this person's name. They have like a scroll of abundance, which heals you. This doesn't really seem all that good. I see like scroll of contained goblins, so you can like force spawn out goblins. And this is also the place, I don't know if it's in the vendor here, but in general, Dark Citadel, I believe, has a weekly reward that gives you a scroll of retempering, which allows you to basically take an item that has exhausted all of its tempering charges, and one time you can tap it with a tempering scroll and it will go back to full. So all of the original tempering charge that had before, you'll be able to, just start from scratch once again. And so I know tempering has been kind of a hot topic in the community, so give you a little bit more rope to rage at when you manage to go, instead of 7 of the wrong temper in the row, now we'll be able to go all the way up to 14. So very excited about bricking items once again. And I think it's going to be pretty good though. I think that reward is definitely something that's appealing. Definitely make me want to at least do it once a week. Hopefully the content is rather smooth after the first time, and it doesn't have a lot of mechanics where you like need everybody to really like do specific things at specific times. Otherwise you like instant wipe, because I don't really think that's very hardcore friendly. But we'll have to see kind of what they do with this. And also, I don't think they talked about hardcore in general. So yeah. Next up, we have Cuirassed Undercity, which I think we roughly talked about a little bit. But something that's going to unlock at like level 15 or 20. They weren't really sure. This is more expansion only content, by the way. I believe this unlocks in the campaign. This is solo or group content. This is going to be good leveling content, but also endgame, it seemed like. And it is timed. So killing elites adds more time to the clock. We're not really sure how much time this is. This can be kind of like the pit, I would guess. But the timers, instead of starting off really, really long, we're going to start off pretty short. And as you kill more stuff, you're going to get more time. But yeah, that time does sound like it'll be an issue. This is going to cause builds, though, that are very fast to excel, and necromancers to probably complain about this content a lot. If you're playing a necromancer, Cuirassed Undercity is probably going to be content that your build is maybe not going to be super duper great at, and that might be okay to have some sorts of content where faster builds are really the super desirable thing. But they did state that you have to like go and face the boss at the end, so you're not going to be able to play a build that is 100% just like speed clearing farm. They also have mentioned here some of the stuff, like there is like this thing called attunement, which increases the quality of loot rewarded for after slaying one of the Undercity's all new bosses. So yeah, there are bosses at the end of each of these, and yeah, like you get increased the amount of rewards based on how much attunement you collect throughout the run, and higher quality tributes, which is something you put in the beginning to kind of like maybe give yourself more rewards but make it a little bit harder. But they raised the challenge, so I'm not sure if this makes it like add more modifiers, makes them faster, less time, a whole bunch of stuff. It'll be very interesting to see like what they deem as raising the challenge in these, because it typically is going to make it so that builds that can completely sidestep whatever that is are going to do well. It's kind of like in Path of Exile, where you try to do a build that like can sidestep most map mods. Kind of the same thing here for Undercity. Next up, there's a whole bunch of general changes, but first I want to touch on Party Finder. So we're adding a Party Finder to the game, and it looks a little bit bare bones at the moment. It's kind of missing some of the stuff that I would kind of hope from a Party Finder. Kind of see like it has a whole bunch of tags on here, which seems good. But like in the video, I believe here when they were like putting up a group, I didn't really see any spot on this for you to actually like type out any sort of thing. You say party description, select up to 8, which means that I don't think you're gonna be able to like type like, hey, looking to do tormented Duriel, 8 rota, bring your own materials, we vendor between each kill. Like you can't put all of that into the text of this. So it's gonna maybe make, I think there's going to be a lot of things that the community is going to quickly identify that they want with the Party Finder. And hopefully Blizzard continues to show their like quick responsiveness for that kind of stuff, and we get some good updates as well. They also said that 85% of players play solo, which I thought was pretty crazy. especially because, Dark Citadel is the thing that pretty much everybody's wanted to do. So I kind of wonder if the party finder is really going to help mitigate the lack of group play. You can also create parties from just on the map. So you're clicking on a dungeon, give the opportunity to press a button to just open up a party, or I guess maybe look for a party for that particular type of content, which I think is pretty cool. And this is available for all content, not just Dark Citadel. So you can do all sorts of different stuff with it. They did say that clan stuff might be coming, and the trade updates and loadouts, all of this stuff might be coming sometime, but they didn't really have anything new to update us on. We have new skill for each class, new passives. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but there's going to be new stuff for each classes. So it's not just going to be all Spiritborn, all the focus, which I think is pretty cool. They said for Paragon that they want there to be more choice, but without there being more complexity, and that the Paragon was going to remain finite. So no infinite Paragons sailing off into the moon, which I think is pretty good. There's also no collector's edition coming out. I don't think I have a email here. There'll be no physical version of Diablo IV Vessel of Hatred, which I believe is the very first time that we see that. Oh yeah, talking about the scrolls for retempering. These are one-time use, can't be used more than once. They're available in the base game, so I don't think that you're going to need to do Vessel of Hatred in order to drop these. And this means that you do have a small chance of finding these as a drop in the world outside of Dark Citadels, which means that they're going to be a nice, rare item for you to find, which I think is... apologies. It's going to be a nice treat when you find one of these out in the world for sure. But yeah. Lastly, let's talk about some of the other general stuff. So they've said that there's going to be more transmogs for you to find, new looks in the campaign from Dark Citadel, from Mercenaries, all over the place. There's 13 new cat mount skins and a whole bunch of armors. So we have like a whole ton of horses right now, and there's a whole bunch that I even haven't unlocked from doing a whole bunch of stuff. And they've continued to do that trend even into Nahantu. They said something about Pit level 15 or 20 unlocks the new Torment 1 difficulty. It's going to be like you do the story. They said there's extra things to help you gear up in order to take on Torment 1. And I'm not really sure like why exactly it's Pit here as opposed to a capstone, but we're apparently going to get more information about this on the 29th. Practically every single time anybody asked them about this particular section about difficulty, they said that that was going to be a big conversation topic on the 29th. So looking forward to hearing more information from them at that point. Definitely do a whole video talking about that. But they did say that people are going to feel like they're playing a whole new game. So there's going to be changes for Pit, there's going to be changes for difficulty, there's going to be changes for Nightmare Dungeons, all pretty excited about. Leveling and all difficulty just completely reworked. Also for Season 6, they're doing the same for progression as what they did for itemization in Season 4. This time they're updating the difficulty and Paragon systems. It's like a direct quote from what they said, which I think pretty cool. To the end, we're getting a PTR, which is not Vessel of Hatred content. It's just like general base game stuff. So I'm assuming that means no Spiritborn, no Dark Citadel, no Mercenaries, no Undercity, but you'll be able to check out all the class changes. Probably be able to check out like the big stat squish that seems like it's coming, like in the capture test last month. The armor cap was now like 1,000, which seems pretty low. People's HPs were likewise also smooshed. Damage numbers are way down. They're probably not going to be hitting for Barbillions anymore. More like, I don't know, Mage Millions instead. And yeah, it'd be pretty cool. I think that squishing down the stats is very, very good. We're already kind of like in really ridiculous damage numbers territory, which even from like the very like first season with the barber was pretty ridiculous. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit of a squish there. A lot of people asked about leaderboards. There's no leaderboards coming. Strongholds aren't changing, although they are adding more strongholds with the new zone. We did see a couple of those. They're adding 2 new character slots. Well, maybe one, maybe 2. It was a little bit confusing which one. They're adding a new tab that acts kind of like the consumes tab. You can kind of see it in some of the images. And there's more quality of life stuff coming, which we'll find out on the 29th. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole breakdown of all of the stuff. hopefully this helped you out a little bit. I'm very, very excited about the Vessel of Hatred. I got to play the Spiritborn when we went out there last month, and it's a very, very fun class. I'm not sure if it's going to be my main class, but it's definitely something I'm very interested in. I've already put together a couple of builds for the class. Some of them I think that are maybe a little bit completely busted, but I've put some of them up. I did one video about the Spiritborn. I have some other build guides that I've kind of like loosely put up on Mobalytics. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And as always, come by the stream. Thank you very much.